Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of TeaLimePie. This is episode 12. Hell yeah.
Woo!
Woo! This is the podcast where we look up and read your ghost stories over on Reddit or whatever you have submitted. If you do have stories to submit, you can do so down in the comments, or you can email us at tealimepiepodcast@gmail.com if you want. They can be anonymous. It's all up to you.
Mm-hmm.
So today we only have 2 stories for you because one is super long.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it sounds like it's going to be really funny, so I'm excited.
Yeah. Can't wait. We're gonna start with more of a local legend folktale story. This doesn't have its own separate post. It's somebody just posted asking for people's local stories, and they're all in the comments. So this is just a commented story, but it's from Australia, and I'm super curious what they've got going on down there. So, I grew up in Australia in the outer suburbs southwest of Sydney. There's a local folktale that's been a point of discussion for a long time. On the 17th of June, 1826, an English-born Australian farmer from Campbelltown named Frederick Fisher, born 28th of August, 1792 in London, suddenly disappeared. His friend and neighbor George Worrall claimed that Fisher had returned to his native England and that before departing had given him power of attorney over his property and general affairs.
Sus.
Yeah. Later, Worrall claimed that Fisher had written to him to advise that he was not intending to return to Australia and giving his farm to Worrall. 4 months after Fisher's disappearance, a respectable local man named John Farley ran into the local hotel in a very agitated state. He told the astonished patrons that he had seen a ghost of Fred Fisher sitting on the rail of a nearby bridge. Farley stated that the ghost had not spoken, but had merely pointed to a paddock beyond the creek before disappearing. Initially, Farley's tale was dismissed, but the circumstances surrounding Fisher's disappearance eventually aroused sufficient suspicion that a police search of the paddock to which the ghost had pointed was undertaken, during which the remains of murdered Fisher were discovered buried by the side of the creek. George Worrall was arrested for the crime, confessed, and subsequently hanged. Fred Fisher, whose lands he had coveted, was buried in a cemetery at St. Peter's Anglican Church in Campbelltown. It has been suggested that Farley invented the ghost story as a way of concealing some other speculated source of his knowledge about the whereabouts of Fisher's body, but this cannot be confirmed. Joe Nichol has written the ghost story may have originated from an anonymous poem in 1832, which fictionalized Fisher and the Worrall. The poem, The Spite of the Creek, has since been identified as a work of James Riley, who would republish it with explanatory footnotes in 1846 under the pseudonym Felix. Contemporary police and court records do not mention the ghost story. The legend of Fisher's ghost has since entered popular folklore, and the creek beside which the body was discovered is known as Fisher's Ghost Creek. That's cool.
That's cool.
Although it has now, however, been converted into mostly stormwater drain. Oh.
That's so cool.
No. That's a good local folktale. I like that one.
Yeah, that's like a real solid ghost story right there.
Mm-hmm.
That is the standard, everyone.
Yeah.
I expect better of these stories from now on.
That'd be crazy, though. Although, people killing other people for their property is a tale as old as time.
Yeah, like literally.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, like.
That's crazy.
Oh.
It's cool that they named the creek after him, even if it's not real or whatever. That's cool. Fun little piece.
Yeah, it's still a local legend, though, right?
Yeah. Fun little
cool.
piece of Australia.
Maybe we'll have to go to this water drain.
Yeah. This is the stormwater drain. Pay our respects. Sorry about your farm.
All right, so this big old long story. It sounds very funny. Mm-hmm. It is called "The Time I Almost Pooped My Pants in Utah Desert." You had to know we were gonna read this story because someone almost pooped their pants. Yeah. And we're all about those pooping ghosts.
Yep, people going to the bathroom, ghosts in the bath, anything. It's, yeah.
Someone, in there holding your hand.
Yeah.
Okay, this happened a while ago, but I still think about it. I moved to the Utah desert in my early 20s to work as a wilderness therapy trail staff. It was a nomadic, primitive living program, so no base camps or modern comforts. We carried everything on our backs and were relying on handmade packs, tarps, and whatever we could physically manage over 5 to 15 mile hikes across the brutal terrain.
No.
That does not sound like a good time.
Could not be me.
No.
Even if
you
it
lost
was
me in the story already.
Yeah. Even if it was at most 5 miles, there's no way.
Yeah. Okay, we were in the middle of nowhere, backcountry, nothing for miles, just under 3,000 square miles. We even had to gather supplies from our own bow drill kits to start fires. Some of us had drill kits too, but the blasters were never worth it. I don't know what any of that means.
No, me neither.
Shifts lasted anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, and we were responsible for the campers 24/7. One of our duties was the 3 a.m. spot check every night. One of the staff members had to wake up, physically confirm every camper was accounted for, and send a GPS ping to the office to say, "Safety check." If the safety check was missed, the office was supposed to call at 4:30 a.m., but they never did. Figures. Not fingers. We never did fingers.
God, I hope not.
Good God. Can you tell it's getting late?
Oh my gosh.
It was not a favorable position to be in, so I always volunteered. You would physically have to get up out of your sleeping bag and walk around to ensure every head was counted. No one wanted this job, but it was an extra $5 a day on your paychecks, and that really added up. The staff were a really tight-knit group of dinguses. We all loved each other. We would divide tasks fairly between the staff in a group. We were all close, and I was especially close with our district supervisor, Jay. This will be useful later on.
Okay.
It was midwinter when I got assigned to the adult group. There's the only 18-plus camp in the program. Also happened to be co-ed. This meant special requirements, like separate boys and girls camp as a specific distance from our main camp. My friend Dave and I were stoked to be paired up, and with the adults, as that meant less drama and more freedom to do cool things, like challenging hikes. We planned a route to a remote, technicolored hill deep in the red sand pit. It would be a perfect campsite with tree covered and enough space to separate the boys and girls camps. After a week of hiking, we arrived. Who's bringing their child on this trip.
Right.
Like, they're specifying that now they're on an 18 plus camp program.
Yeah.
Who would bring their child to this hellscape?
There are people. They're out there.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
The nearest service road, I'm talking backcountry, barely a road of any kind, was half a mile away and approached the hill from one direction. One way in, one way out situation for driving and supplies for the weekend. The company's transport vehicles would bring our food and water over this weekend. That night, after setting up camp, Dave and I stayed up late with few campers making a terrible attempt at wilderness desserts. Once the campers went to bed, we planned for the next day, put out the fire, and turned in. Then came 3 a.m. When I woke up for my spot check, something felt off. The camp wasn't just quiet, it was dead silent. No wind, no distant coyotes, no rustling trees, or even sound of scavengers searching for crumbs from our dinner on the stump. Just unnatural, suffocating stillness. Snow fell in slow motion, the stars reflecting off each flake. I didn't need a light because the soft white blanket was illuminating the celestial glow. That is very descriptive. I like this story. I'm into this story. I started my midnight check. The girls' camp was intact. All 4 campers asleep where they should be. Then I walked 150 yards towards the base camp, only hearing my own breath and the sound of my chows?
Chacos.
I'm assuming they're boots.
Yeah.
Crunching on the snow. Once in base camp, I bent down to check the fire pit. The coals were buried under ash and fresh snow, but I moved a small patch aside and saw them still glowing, which would make the morning fire prep easier. Then I heard it, a man's voice, calling my name. It came from the boys' camp. The voice was deep, carrying through the silence. My mind raced to place it. Not one of the campers, not Dave. I figured Dave was messing with me. People thought I wasn't scared of anything, which just wasn't true. I just looked like I wasn't. But I headed towards the voice anyway, convinced it was a joke. At the boys' camp, I went straight to Dave's shelter to call his bluff. I shook his shelter and no response. I climbed into his shelter and pressed a hand to his carotid artery just to be sure he wasn't dead.
Okay.
Why was that your first thought?
Yeah. Oh man, it's clearly nighttime and my friend should be sleeping. I better check if he's dead.
He had a palpable pulse, but no movement. This thoracic cavity was barely moving from his breath. Okay.
All right.
This was the same guy who would wake up at a twig snapping, who snored like a chainsaw, yet now he was utterly silent. I even tried a sternum rub. Okay. What? All right.
Maybe keep that to yourself.
Yeah. Are you telling your friend the next day? I rubbed your sternum last night. The next time you and I get together in person, I'll give you that sternum rub. You tell me how it is.
Only while I'm asleep.
Oh my goodness. Uneasy, I checked the 4 male campers, all accounted for, all asleep, all breathing.
Good.
Then, yeah, A+. Then, from beyond the campsite, my name, again. the voice came from down the hill. The only way out was the far more distant service road behind us. Whatever was calling me wasn't standing on a road. It wasn't supposed to be there. I froze, my heartbeat thundering in my earlobes. Your earlobes? And my butthole felt like it was in my throat. I was wondering when we would get to the poop. The snow kept falling weightless. Time felt sluggish. Then, one last time, my name again from beyond the tree line. It was louder now, closer. I felt a slight wave of relief when I remembered Jay was on shift. I pulled out the InReach and sent Jay a message. Hey, are you here? Come say hi. If he was messing with me, he'd own up to it quickly with a, you got me, but no reply came. I power walked back to my shelter, buried myself in the sleeping bag, and clutched my eyes shut. As the first hints of daylight softened the sky, I finally slipped into sleep. A few hours later, I woke up. No one was awake yet, and I collected my store of dry firewood I had hidden in my shelter the night before, and went off to start the morning fire. About a half hour later, Dave emerged from the trees, rubbing his eyes and pulling on his jacket. He sat in silence for a long time, and I had assumed he was contemplating breakfast. Finally, he piped up. Hey, dude, did you have a weird dream last night? No, but boy, do I have a story. You first, or me. He wanted to hear mine. So I told him everything. The silence, the falling snow, his corpse of a body, the voice calling me again and again from the dark. He listened wide-eyed. When I finished, he said, in my dream, the group woke up, but we couldn't find you. We called Jay, and he came with a search and rescue. All they found was a trail of deer prints leading from your shelter into the woods, but that was it. He turned into a deer. We sat there stunned, me still processing what he had said in my slightly deep, sleep-deprived, delirious state. We were quiet until the first camper came out and sat with us, and I checked my InReach. Jay had finally responded. He wasn't anywhere near us, and he was back in town at the office all night. The campers woke, and we got on with our day, pushing the unease aside. The rest of their shift was uneventful, which was always good in the wilderness. The director of the program even showed up once to have dinner with us and play some games. It was one of the best shifts I remember being out there. When shift change arrived, we said our goodbyes, but before I left, one of the campers pulled me aside and said, I'm really glad you didn't go missing. I had a weird dream one night that first week. I woke up and saw you walking into the woods. I tried to scream for you, but I couldn't make a sound. There was a strange man calling your name. Oh, I just got chills. I just got goosebumps.
Mm-hmm.
That last stretch before transportation felt endless. I've worked many shifts since then, but I have never been closer to shitting my pants in my adult life. Once I got back to the office, I noticed that the director of the program had left a note in my cubby. I guess Dave spoke with him the day he came to visit and told him about his dream and my spooky situation. The director was notorious for being highly superstitious and had left me a little pathway mantra tied to a necklace made out of hollowed juniper. Aww. Called ghost beads. Interesting. This is one of the many unexplained situations out in that desert I encountered, but nothing so far has kept me from spending as much time as I can sleeping under the stars.
Ugh.
Let's go.
They
That was a
had
good
that dream.
story.
Eee.
many others had the same dream.
Yeah, and just didn't bring it up.
Yeah. I got goosebumps on that one.
Yeah. The shared dream kind of stuff is just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what would have happened if he had gone to The Voice.
Yeah, right? I'm looking at the comments. Yeah, I want him to post more.
Yeah.
He said he had years of, like, in the comments, he's like, I've got years of stories. Well, fucking give us one, homie.
Give us the more, yeah.
Oh. I was just trying to smoke a cigarette and not witness some paranormal bullshit.
Oh, he did have another story.
I'll have to look into that one.
Oh, it's a long one again. Yeah, we'll have to check out the other story.
Yeah,
sure.
That was a good one. I really enjoyed that. All right, so that ends for our episode 12 of TeaLimePie. Thank you so much for listening. You can find both of us over on Twitch under Coffee Ghostea and Lime Jello Monster. If you have any ghost stories you would like to share, leave them down in the comments, or you can email them anonymously to tealimepiepodcast@gmail.com, and we will read them in an episode. Thank you guys so much, and have a good night.
Sleep tight.